The storm had swallowed the whole town in darkness. Rain hammered the bay doors of Station 12 so violently that even the veteran firefighters paused between calls, glancing toward the rattling glass as thunder rolled in from the open plains. Inside, the warm glow of overhead lights reflected off polished engines, half-eaten dinners, and exhausted faces, waiting for the night to pass quietly. Then, the motion sensor at the front entrance blinked on. "Probably the wind," someone muttered. But when the door slid open, the entire station fell silent. A massive German shepherd staggered into the firehouse, soaked to the bone, ribs heaving beneath matted fur. His left side was bleeding. His hind leg dragged uselessly behind him, and clamped between his teeth was the frayed strap of a tiny pink backpack. Attached to that strap was a little girl, barefoot, bruised, half-conscious. Her cheek pressed against the wet concrete as the dog struggled to pull her forward with every ounce of strength he had left. A rookie firefighter dropped his coffee. Another whispered, "Dear God, is she alive?" No one moved. No one breathed. The dog's eyes, wild, desperate, intelligent, locked onto the nearest ambulance bay, as if he already knew exactly where help would be. When firefighters rushed in his direction, he lowered his body protectively over the girl and let out a warning growl, not aggressive, but pleading. He wasn't attacking. He was begging them to save her life. 5 minutes earlier, Station 12 had looked like any other Midwestern firehouse trying to survive a stormy night. Rain drummed against the tin roof. Weather alerts crackled over the dispatch radio. A few firefighters played cards beneath fluorescent lights, while others dozed on recliners, boots still on. A paramedic, Mia Collins, sat at a small metal desk, finishing up a pile of patient reports she had been avoiding all week. "Feels like we're going to get another lightning call," the rookie, Avery, joked, as thunder rattled a row of helmets hanging on the wall. "Don't jinx it," Mia warned, without looking up. Lightning flashed through the bay windows, momentarily turning the whole station white. Beyond the glass, the storm raged across an empty street, wind bending a lonely stop sign until it groaned. Inside, however, everything was calm, predictable, safe. Avery yawned, stretching his arms behind his head. "Man, if this night stays quiet, I might actually catch up on sleep," Mia smirked. "You know better than to say that out loud." As if answering her, the motion sensor beeped. Avery frowned. "Did someone call ahead?" "No," Mia replied, already pushing back her chair. "That sensor only triggers if something moves right in front of the door." A hush fell over the room as everyone instinctively turned toward the entrance. The sliding door trembled once, then opened with a slow, mechanical hiss. A gust of cold rain swept in, and then the dark shape emerged. At first, Mia thought it was a stray dog looking for shelter. But the moment her eyes adjusted to the flickering lights, her heart lurched. The German shepherd was enormous, but emaciated, coat dirty, muscles shaking with exhaustion. Blood dripped from a deep gash along his flank. His paws left smeared prints across the concrete floor, and behind him, a small arm. A small foot. A small, limp body being dragged along the floor, her wet hair sticking to her bruised cheek. "Oh my God," Mia whispered as her throat tightened. The dog staggered a few more steps before collapsing onto his elbows, refusing to let go of the strap he held in his teeth. His gaze rose to meet Mia's, a look filled with urgency, fear, and something she had seen only in trained rescue dogs. Determination. "Someone call EMS now!" she shouted. Firefighters scrambled to their feet, but even as they ran toward the child, the dog's growl rumbled through the bay, a trembling warning. "Don't hurt her. Don't waste time. Help her." The firefighters froze mid-stride, unsure whether to move closer or keep their distance. The German shepherd's growl wasn't feral. It was desperate. His entire body trembled, not from aggression, but from the sheer effort of holding himself upright. Blood from his flank trickled slowly onto the concrete, mixing with rainwater into a dark, swirling puddle beneath him. Mia raised both hands, palms open. "Hey, easy boy," she whispered, her voice barely carrying over the storm outside. "I'm here to help her. I promise." The dog flicked his ears toward her, golden eyes narrowing as he assessed every inch of her posture. He recognized something in her tone. Steadiness, purpose, the same calm presence he knew from the handlers he once trusted. Avery knelt nearby with a trauma kit. "Mia, we need to get her off the floor. She's freezing." "Not yet," Mia murmured. "He's protecting her. He won't let us touch her, unless he trusts someone." Thunder cracked again, shaking the doors. The girl whimpered faintly at the sound, her breath hitching in short, shallow bursts. At that small sound, the dog's growl dropped off. His head whipped back toward her, as if checking she was still alive. Then slowly, painfully, he dragged his body closer, curling himself around her tiny frame. He wasn't guarding her out of instinct. He was guarding her out of love. Mia sank to her knees, inching forward across the wet floor. "You brought her here," she whispered, awe softening her voice. "You did so good. Let me help you now." The dog's chest rose sharply, strained and uneven. His jaw tightened on the backpack strap, but then loosened. The frayed fabric slipped from his teeth and fell with a soft slap onto the concrete. It was permission. Mia exhaled in relief and reached for the girl, sliding her arms beneath the child's cold, trembling body. The dog tensed, muscles knotting, eyes locked on every move she made. When Mia lifted the girl, the dog tried to stand too, but his hind leg buckled, sending him down to one knee. Still, he refused to let more than a few inches separate them. "Grab blankets," Mia called out. "And get the rig ready. We're transporting now." Firefighters scattered. A thermal blanket was thrown over Mia's shoulder. Avery prepared the stretcher. Rain pounded against the roof like a war drum. But nothing in the firehouse mattered as much as the moment the dog forced himself upright again, staggering forward, determined to follow Mia and the girl, no matter the pain. "Whoa, boy, you need medical attention too," Avery said gently. The shepherd barely spared him a glance. His gaze was fixed only on the child. Mia whispered, almost to herself, "He's not letting her out of his sight." And he didn't, even broken, bleeding and soaked to the bone. He followed. The ambulance rocked as it sped toward the hospital, tires hissing over rain-soaked asphalt. Inside, the little girl lay curled beneath layers of warming blankets, her skin pale as moonlight. Every few seconds, her chest lifted with a shallow, fragile breath. Too light, too irregular for a child her age. Mia kept one gloved hand on the girl's forehead, the other adjusting the oxygen mask. "She's ice cold," Mia murmured. "Hypothermic, dehydrated, bruised." The paramedic beside her glanced over and whispered, "Do you think she got lost out there?" Mia didn't answer, because right beneath the blanket's edge, she had just seen something that stole the breath from her lungs. Rope marks, deep, angry grooves, circling the girl's wrists. Some old, some fresh, all unmistakable. Those weren't the marks of a child who had wandered into a storm. Those were the marks of a child who had been restrained. When the ambulance braked at the ER bay, the doors flew open and a team of nurses swept in. They transferred the girl to a trauma bed and pushed her toward the bright white lights of the emergency wing. Mia climbed out right behind them and nearly tripped over the dark shape waiting outside. The dog, the German shepherd, had run the entire way behind the ambulance, his fur plastered to his ribs, his paws bleeding, his breath coming in ragged, painful bursts. But he had not let them go without him. A security guard stepped forward. "We can't let that dog in here." "He's coming," Mia said firmly. He's her guardian. The guard hesitated at the authority in her tone, and somehow, the dog understood the moment. He limped forward, pressing his body close to Mia's leg as the doors slid open and the harsh hospital lighting spilled across them both. Inside the trauma room, the atmosphere shifted from chaos to dread as the staff cut away the girl's torn dress. Gasps rose around the bed. Bruises, dark and finger-shaped, ran along her ribs. Scratch marks dotted her shoulders, and more rope grooves extended across her ankles. A nurse covered her mouth. "This wasn't from a fall," another whispered. "Who would do this to a child?" The dog's low whine filled the room like a plea, as if begging them to understand that this was no accident, no coincidence. Something terrible had been happening long before he ever carried her into the storm. Mia placed a trembling hand on his head. "You found her," she whispered, "and I don't think you found her by chance." The dog didn't move. He only stared at the girl, as if he already knew this was just the beginning. The hospital's automatic doors hissed open again. This time, not because of a gurney or a medical team rushing through. A man stumbled inside, soaked from the storm, water dripping from the hood of his flannel jacket onto the polished tile. His eyes were wide, too wide. "I'm looking for my daughter," he shouted before anyone could even greet him. Someone said, a girl was brought in." Several nurses exchanged glances. No one had given out that information. Mia, still standing at the trauma room doorway with the German shepherd pressed against her leg, felt a cold ripple slide down her spine. A nurse approached him cautiously. "Sir, can we get your name?" "Carl," he blurted. "Carl Jennings, my stepdaughter. Lily. She ran out during the storm. I've been looking everywhere for her. Please, I need to see her." His voice cracked in perfectly timed places. His breathing mimicked panic. But his eyes, those restless, darting eyes, were scanning every corner of the ER like a man trying to calculate exits, not find a loved one. Before the staff could respond, the dog stiffened. His entire posture transformed. Ears pinned back, muscles tightening beneath drenched fur. Then, without any warning, a deep, guttural snarl erupted from his chest. Mia grabbed his harness just in time. "Easy! Easy, boy!" But the dog lunged anyway, dragging her a full step forward before she managed to hold him back. His teeth flashed, not wildly, but with terrifying precision, like a highly trained animal identifying a target. Carl stumbled back, face twisting. "What the hell is wrong with that mutt? Keep it away from me!" Security rushed in, placing themselves between Carl and the dog. But Valor didn't even look at the guards. His eyes were locked solely on Carl, every breath vibrating with recognition. He knew this man, and he feared for the girl because of him. A nurse hurried to calm Carl. "Sir, the little girl is in critical condition. We're doing everything we can. You'll have to wait out here." He put a hand over his mouth in a shaky gesture of grief. But Mia saw it, the microsecond where his expression slipped. A twitch of annoyance, a flicker of calculation. Not sorrow, not fear for the child. Fear of being discovered. In the trauma room behind her, the girl briefly stirred. Her eyes, half open, flicked toward the doorway and landed on Carl. The heart monitor spiked. Her tiny fingers clawed weakly at the blanket, and her lips trembled around a silent scream. Even sedated, she recognized him. And she was terrified. Mia's stomach dropped. She didn't know the full truth yet, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever this man was, he was not here to protect Lily. And the dog, injured, trembling, barely standing, was the only one brave enough to say it out loud. The storm outside had quieted, but inside the hospital the tension only grew thicker. After Lily was stabilized enough for imaging, nurses insisted the German Shepherd be taken to the back hallway, the only place they had for animals until animal control arrived. Mia stayed with him, guiding his exhausted body down the corridor. Every few steps, he stumbled, but refused help. He limped with the stubborn pride of a soldier who had never known surrender. A vet tech arrived with a portable scanner. "No chip," he said quietly. "He's either a stray, or someone removed it." Mia didn't buy that. No stray moved like this dog. No stray made choices with intention. No stray looked at a child the way he had looked at Lily. As she laid a towel beneath him, footsteps echoed faintly from the ER lobby. The dog lifted his head. Not because he heard Lily. Not because he sensed danger in general. But because he recognized something. His ears pricked. His nostrils flared, catching a scent in the circulating air of the hallway. And slowly, like a storm rolling over the horizon, a low growl built in his chest. Mia leaned closer. "What is it, boy?" The dog pushed himself upright, pain shooting through his injured hind leg. But he didn't care. His gaze locked toward the waiting room as if he could see through walls. Then he lunged. The leash snapped out of Mia's hands as he barreled forward, claws scraping across linoleum, a streak of wet fur and fury. Nurses gasped, chairs toppled, and security turned just in time to see the massive shepherd charge into the lobby, straight toward Carl. The man had been pacing near the vending machines, trying, and failing, to look distraught. When he heard the claws skitter across the floor, he turned. His face went white. He knew this dog. The snarl that erupted from the shepherd shook the whole room. It wasn't random violence, it wasn't panic. It was the specific, laser-focused rage of an animal who had survived something, and remembered the scent of the person responsible. Carl stumbled back, tripping over a chair, arms raised in a pathetic shield. "Keep that thing away from me," he screamed. "It's dangerous." But Mia saw the truth, written across both of them. The dog wasn't attacking everyone, only him. Security managed to intercept, grabbing the dog's collar and pulling him away with their full weight. Even then, the shepherd braced his paws, claws carving lines in the tile as he fought against being dragged. His eyes never left Carl. Not once. Mia rushed in, placing herself between the two. She could feel the dog shaking beneath her hands, not with fear, but with recognition. "Why is he reacting like this?" a guard demanded. Mia swallowed hard. "Because he's not afraid of Carl," she said softly. "He's warning us about him." Security shoved Carl into a chair, while two officers questioned him. But his eyes kept darting nervously toward the German shepherd, held firmly at the end of 3 pairs of hands. The dog strained against them, muscles quivering with instinct, not madness. Something inside him was trying to break free. A memory, a mission, a scent he knew too well. Mia knelt beside the dog once the guards got him under partial control. His chest rose and fell in harsh, uneven breaths. Blood seeped slowly from the wound at his flank, yet he still pushed forward, claws scraping for traction. "He's not trying to hurt people," Mia said, voice steady despite her racing heart. "He's trying to tell us something." Deputy Ruiz, an older, sharp-eyed officer who had arrived minutes earlier, studied the shepherd's posture, the stance, the breathing control, the way his gaze never wavered from the suspect. "That's not a stray," Ruiz murmured. "That's a trained dog." "Maybe he was trained once," a guard suggested. "Could have been abandoned." Ruiz shook his head. "No. Look at how he assesses threats. Look at how he's guarding the hallway to the trauma ward. That's muscle memory. That's canine conditioning." A vet from the animal clinic rushed in with a larger, more advanced chip scanner, the kind used for older police microchips. "Let's check again," she said, kneeling next to Mia. The dog stiffened as the scanner beeped softly and glided across his neck. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, Beep. A faint, almost forgotten code blinked to life on the scanner's tiny screen. The vet's eyebrows shot upward. "Oh my God!" "What?" Mia demanded. "What does it say?" The vet swallowed, eyes widening as she tilted the screen toward Ruiz. "It says, this dog is registered to Ridgefield County." She tapped the display. "Unit designation, K914, Valor." Mia felt the air leave her lungs. Deputy Ruiz exhaled sharply, recognition hitting him like a blow. "Valor? The missing K9 from the flood search?" A hush swept across the hallway. 6 months earlier, during a massive river flood, a police K9 had been swept away while tracking a suspect through the woods. His handler barely survived. Everyone assumed the dog had drowned, but he didn't. He survived, alone, and he kept working. Mia stared at the shepherd, her voice barely a whisper. You're Valor." The dog's ears twitched at the sound of his name. A name he had not heard in half a year. A name he had never stopped living up to. Ruiz stepped back, hand over his mouth. "If Valor is reacting to this man," he motioned toward Carl, who now looked ghost-pale, "it's not random. He's identifying a suspect." Carl stammered, "This is insane. I've never seen that animal in my life." But Valor's low, steady growl filled the hallway with a truth no one could unhear. Mia placed a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't come here by accident," she whispered. "You came here because you were still on duty." Long before the storm reached Station 12, before the ambulance lights flashed down empty streets, before the little girl whispered Valor through trembling lips, there was only darkness. The storm drains beneath the abandoned industrial district stretched like a maze, cold concrete corridors, dripping pipes, the echo of running water blending with distant traffic. In one of the larger chambers, a child curled into herself on the floor, shivering so violently that her teeth chattered. Her name was Lily. Her wrists burned with raw friction marks. Her ankles throbbed where rope had bitten through skin. Her breath came in tiny, panicked gasps. "Please," she whispered to no one. "Please let someone find me." A faint splash sounded down the tunnel. Lily flinched, hugging her knees tighter. She wasn't alone. She could hear Carl pacing, boots scraping against concrete, muttering curses under his breath. He'd been searching for something he lost. Her. He seemed angrier now, desperate. "Where are you?" he hissed into the darkness. "Don't make me come in there again." Lily pressed a hand over her mouth to muffle her sob. Then, another sound, not boots, not Carl. A low, steady echo, soft steps. Measured, controlled. A pair of faint, amber eyes appeared first, glowing slightly in the dim light, pooling from a broken grate above. A massive silhouette emerged from the shadows, water dripping from soaked fur. It was Valor. Months of surviving in the wilderness had changed his appearance. Thinner, more scarred. But his stance was unmistakable. Even after losing his team in the flood, even after nearly drowning himself, he had kept tracking, kept searching, kept working. When Lily saw him, she sucked in a sharp breath. The shepherd froze, lowering his head. His tail inched cautiously. He approached slowly, step by step, making himself smaller so he wouldn't frighten her. Lily let out a trembling sob. I don't want to be alone." Valor moved closer until his fur brushed her cheek. She grabbed onto him instantly, tiny fingers tangling into wet fur like he was the last solid thing in the world. Her tears soaked into his neck, and that's when Carl's voice bellowed again, closer this time. "I'm warning you, girl. Come out now." Valor lifted his head. His ears twitched, his muscles locked. A new scent entered the tunnel. Anger, sweat, adrenaline. The metal tang of a pipe held in a shaking fist. Carl stepped into the chamber and froze when he realized Lily wasn't alone. "What the?" Valor moved before he could finish. A growl ripped through the tunnel, echoing like thunder. The shepherd lunged with a suddenness that made Carl stumble backward. The metal pipe clanged against the wall as Valor snapped at his arm, teeth grazing cloth and skin. Carl swore loudly, scrambling away in a panic. He vanished deeper into the tunnel, the slap of his boots fading into the darkness. Lily trembled, clutching Valor's fur. "Don't leave me. Please don't leave me." Valor nudged her gently, nudged until she shifted onto her knees. Then he lowered his body, lowered even more, inviting her to climb onto his back. She was too weak to walk, too cold, too terrified. Valor didn't hesitate. The moment her small arms wrapped around his neck, he stood, legs shaking, and began the long, brutal journey out of the labyrinth of concrete and fear. Through water, through mud, through the storm, one step at a time, and he never looked back. The storm had finally passed, but the night still clung to the edges of the industrial district like a bruise. Deputy Ruiz drove with Mia in the passenger seat, her uniform still damp from earlier chaos. Behind them, 2 patrol cruisers and a K9 unit followed close, their headlights slicing through the fog. Valor's paws had left faint trails of diluted blood from the hospital entrance to the parking lot. And from there, the team used geographic logic, moving outward from the direction he'd likely approached. Not toward homes, not toward public streets, but toward the forgotten edges of town. The deeper they drove, the fewer signs of life appeared. Old warehouses, rusted chain-link fences, busted sodium lamps flickering in orange pulses. The kind of place predators choose because no one pays attention. "This territory's been abandoned for years," Ruiz muttered. "Too many blind spots. Too many places to hide a child." Mia hugged her arms against herself. "Valor didn't drag her out of some random ditch," she said softly. "He came from someplace specific." It didn't take long to find it. A broken storm grate near the old textile plant sat half-pried open, metal bent unnaturally. Beneath it, damp footprints, large ones, boot-shaped, led into the drainage tunnel. Mixed with them were smaller prints, bare feet. Tiny, hurried, Lily. Ruiz crouched, sweeping his flashlight beam along the tunnel floor. "Fresh," he said. "Hours old at most." Further inside, the team discovered a makeshift encampment beneath a concrete overhang. Blankets, water bottles, and a half-burned jacket tossed carelessly into a corner. The jacket's inner tag carried embroidery, "C. Jennings Carl." But that wasn't the worst part. Next to it lay a cracked flip phone. Ruiz snapped on gloves and flipped it open. The screen, surprisingly, still lit. The inbox was full of short text messages, many from unlisted numbers. Mia leaned closer as Ruiz read them aloud. "We can't keep her here. Storm coming. Move her tonight. You took too long with the last one. Make sure she doesn't scream." Mia's breath hitched. "Last one?" Ruiz's jaw clenched. "There may have been others." They continued further. In the next chamber, they found more rope, identical to the grooves on Lily's wrists, coiled near the wall like a nest of snakes. On the ground lay a flashlight, its lens shattered. Ruiz recognized the brand immediately. Police issued. The kind officers used when searching the tunnels months ago. "This belonged to Valor's unit," he whispered. Something inside Mia twisted. Carl must have been down here the night K9 Valor disappeared, meaning he didn't just hurt Lily. Ruiz nodded grimly. "He attacked a police dog, too." They pressed deeper, until they reached the chamber described in Part 7. The signs were unmistakable. Scuffed concrete, claw marks near the wall, a pipe Carl likely dropped, and a small scrap of Lily's pink backpack caught on a bolt. But the most chilling thing sat right in the center. A line in the dust where a heavy object had been dragged away, followed by paw prints and tiny handprints, leading toward the exit. Valor had carried her through here. He had fought, bled, and climbed through this maze to get her out. And now, because of him, they had enough evidence to bring the entire operation down. Ruiz closed his notebook slowly. This wasn't just a kidnapping, he said. Carl was part of something bigger. And this dog, he blew it wide open. Mia swallowed hard, her voice a whisper in the cavern's echo. Valor didn't just save her life. He exposed the monster no one saw coming. Back at the hospital, the corridors buzzed with a quiet urgency as night staff transitioned into early morning shifts. Lily was still in surgery recovery, her vitals fragile but holding steady. Valor, exhausted and hooked to IV fluids, lay in a temporary kennel room adjacent to the pediatric wing. Mia had insisted they keep him nearby. "He won't rest otherwise," she'd said. And she was right. Even sedated with pain medication, Valor's ears twitched at every footstep, every cart rolling past, every shift in the air. His instincts simmered beneath his bandaged ribs, like coals refusing to burn out. That was when Carl made his move. Ruiz and the officers were still processing evidence at the tunnel site when Carl, left under minimal watch after pretending to be cooperative, saw his chance. While a nurse stepped away from the security desk, he slipped past the curtains, moving quickly down the hall with a familiarity that made Mia's stomach twist when she later reviewed the footage. He knew exactly where Lily's room was. Meanwhile, in the kennel room, Valor's breathing shifted. One of his ears jerked forward. His muscles tightened beneath the towel draped over him. He sensed something. Not danger in general, but a very specific threat. The same scent, the same footsteps, the same man. A low rumble built in his chest. Then, fueled by pure instinct, Valor surged to his feet. IV lines ripped free. The kennel latch rattled once, twice, then buckled under the weight of 100 pounds of desperate muscle. The door swung open. Down the hall, Carl rushed toward Lily's room, muttering curses, sweat dripping down his temples. He shoved a cart out of his way, sending medical supplies crashing across the floor. Lily's door came into view. He was almost there. But he never made it. A blur of brown and black fur shot down the hallway, like a bolt fired from a cannon. Valor slammed into Carl's side with the full force of a trained K9. Injured, yes. Weakened, absolutely. But driven by something far deeper than strength. Purpose. Carl crashed into a metal supply cart, sending bandages and syringes scattering like confetti. He tried to scramble up, but Valor planted himself between Carl and Lily's room, teeth bared, growl vibrating the entire hallway. Carl reached for something, maybe a scalpel, maybe a tool from the fallen cart. But Valor lunged again, snapping inches from his wrist. This time, hospital security was close behind. "Hands where we can see them! Get down, now!" Carl tried to bolt, but Valor stepped forward, blocking him with the precision of a veteran K9 completing a high-stakes takedown. Officers tackled Carl from behind, forcing him to the tile floor and cuffing him as he thrashed and screamed. Valor didn't move until the last cuff clicked shut. Only then did he let out a long, shaky exhale and collapse to his elbows, body trembling, vision blurred. But he stayed pointed toward Lily's door, guarding her, even when his own strength gave out. Morning crept gently into the pediatric recovery room, sliding across the floor in soft, golden lines. Machines hummed quietly. A heart monitor beeped in slow, steady rhythm. Outside the window, the storm clouds had faded into a pale blue sky that looked impossibly peaceful compared to the horrors of the night before. Lily lay beneath warm blankets, her tiny chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Her eyelashes fluttered as if fighting their way out of a nightmare. Mia stood near the foot of the bed, chart in hand, the weight of the last 12 hours still heavy in her bones. A nurse adjusted Lily's IV, then whispered, "She's stabilizing. She might wake soon." But Mia wasn't looking at the monitors. She was looking at the dog lying on a thick mat beside the bed. Valor, bandaged, exhausted, still shaking faintly, rested so close that his shoulder brushed the metal frame. His breathing was slow but uneven, as if every inhale required more strength than he had left. There were IV ports taped to his leg, though he had ripped one earlier, trying to protect Lily. He didn't look like a retired K9 anymore. He didn't look like a hero. He looked like a guardian who refused to sleep until the child he saved opened her eyes. A soft sound broke the quiet. A whimper. Then a trembling inhale. Lily's fingers twitched beneath the blanket. Her eyelids lifted, revealing wide, frightened eyes that darted across the room. She didn't recognize the ceiling, the walls, the soft lights. Her breathing spiked, coming in short, panicked bursts. Mia stepped closer. "Hey, sweetheart, you're safe. You're in the hospital." But Lily didn't calm. Her hands gripped the blanket. Her lips trembled. Her chest moved too fast, as if fear itself had climbed back onto her. Until a soft, familiar sound reached her. Huff. A slow, raspy exhale. Deep, steady, warm. Lily froze. Her eyes shifted. Lower, to the edge of the bed where a patch of brown fur peeked into view. Then she heard it. That uneven, gentle rhythm of breath. The soft scrape of claws against the floor as he tried to move closer. The quietest whine, full of exhaustion but overflowing with love. Valor," she whispered, voice breaking. The shepherd stirred weakly. His eyes cracked open. His tail tapped once against the mat. Lily reached out a shaking hand. Valor lifted his head, slowly, painfully, and nudged her fingertips with his nose. The fear in her chest melted like snow under sun. A sob escaped her, small, but full of something she hadn't felt in months. Safety. She pressed her palm to his cheek as tears streamed down her bruised face. "You came. You really came." Mia covered her mouth, fighting the tremble in her voice. For the first time since being torn from the tunnels, Lily wasn't afraid. She had found her way back to the heartbeat that had carried her through the storm. And Valor, eyes half open, ears tilted toward her, finally let his body relax. Because she was awake. Because she had called his name. Because his mission wasn't over. But she wasn't alone anymore. By mid-morning, the hospital parking lot looked nothing like it had hours earlier. News vans lined the curb. Reporters clutched microphones, their breath fogging in the chilly morning air. Police cruisers idled beneath the overhang, lights flashing silently. Nurses gathered at the windows, whispering as cameras panned across the entrance. Word had spread. A missing K9, a rescued child, a predator exposed, and a storm that revealed a hero no one knew was still alive. Inside, Mia walked alongside Deputy Ruiz as they moved toward Lily's room, their boots soft on the linoleum floor. Ruiz held a thin folder, thickened with new evidence collected from the tunnels. Printouts of text messages, photographs of rope, Carl's jacket, the damaged police flashlight Valor had dragged out. "He's facing a mountain of charges," Ruiz said quietly. "Kidnapping, abuse, attempted homicide, and—" He paused, voice tightening. "He may be connected to at least 2 other missing child reports." Mia closed her eyes. "Valor found her just in time," Ruiz nodded. "He didn't just find her, Mia. He solved the entire case. At Lily's door, 2 officers from Ridgefield County K9 Division stood waiting. Their uniforms were crisp, badges gleaming. Between them sat a small velvet box. "Is that—" Mia began. The older officer smiled gently. "We never stopped hoping he might still be alive," he said. "But we never imagined he'd come back like this." They entered Lily's room quietly. Lily lay propped up on pillows, still pale but awake, one hand resting gently in Valor's fur. The shepherd lay beside the bed on his mat, eyes half-lidded in exhaustion, but lifted the moment he sensed the officers approaching. His tail thumped once, weak but proud. The entire room seemed to soften. The Ridgefield officer knelt beside him. "K9 Valor," he said, voice steady but heavy with emotion. "You were declared missing in the line of duty 6 months ago. But today, you completed a mission no one asked of you, and no one else could have done." He opened the velvet box. Inside lay a small silver K9 honor badge clipped to a leather tag. "For extraordinary bravery," he continued, "and for saving the life of a child when no one else knew she needed saving." He attached the badge gently to Valor's collar. Lily's eyes filled instantly. "That's his," she whispered. "He's my hero." Valor lifted his head, leaning gently into her hand, as if embarrassed by the attention, but accepting it because it made her smile. A soft round of applause rose from the doorway where nurses had gathered, many wiping their eyes. Mia swallowed hard. "He never gave up," she whispered. "Not even when everyone thought he was gone." Ruiz placed a hand over his chest. "And because of him, a monster is finally off the streets." Lily curled beside Valor, her tiny fingers stroking the new badge. He wasn't just a retired K9. Not anymore. He was the hero who walked through the storm. 1 week later, the hospital felt like a different world. The storm had long passed, replaced by gentle spring sun. Lily had regained some color in her cheeks. The bruises, though still faintly visible, no longer defined her. She could sit up now, smile, eat small meals. And at night, she no longer woke up screaming, because Valor never left her side. Each sunrise, nurses found him curled beside her bed, his chin resting near her hand, as if measuring her breathing with his own. And each morning, Lily would wake to his soft tail thump, weak but joyful. That was the beginning of healing. Now, as the discharge hour approached, Mia stood beside the rolling wheelchair, prepared for Lily. A social services representative waited nearby, holding a folder. "She has a foster placement," the woman said warmly. "A couple screened and approved by the county. Quiet home, rural, lots of land." Lily looked up nervously. Can Valor come?" The room fell silent. The representative hesitated. "The dog isn't technically—" But Mia knelt in front of Lily, placing a gentle hand over hers. "Sweetheart," she said, voice soft. "Valor didn't just rescue you. He chose you." The social worker blinked, surprised. Mia continued. "And Ridgefield County filed a request this morning. They want Valor to retire officially. Into your custody." Lily's mouth fell open. "Into mine?" Valor nudged her knee as if confirming it himself. The social worker smiled, touched. "Well, in that case, yes. He can come." Tears welled instantly in Lily's eyes. She leaned forward, wrapping her arms around Valor's neck. His tail thumped harder this time, thumping against the wheelchair wheel. Outside, golden afternoon light spilled across the pavement as Mia wheeled Lily through the hospital doors. Birds chirped softly from nearby trees. Patients and staff lined the walkway, some cheering, some clapping, all smiling through wet eyes. Valor trotted beside the wheelchair, still limping, still healing, but his posture proud. His new honor badge glinted in the sunlight. Lily held his leash with both hands, gripping it like the most precious thing in the world. The foster couple waited near their car. They knelt as Lily approached, speaking softly, gently. Lily's fingers tightened on Valor's fur, but she didn't recoil. For the first time, she didn't look afraid. "Welcome home, sweetheart," the woman said. Lily nodded shyly, then whispered, We come together." Valor pressed closer to her leg, as if promising, always. Before helping Lily into the car, Mia crouched beside the shepherd one last time. She placed her palm over his badge. "You've earned your rest," she murmured. "Take care of her, the way you always have." Valor lifted his head and gave a single, slow blink, a warrior's salute. As the car drove away, sunlight washed over them, Lily's small hand resting on Valor's head from the back seat. A child saved, a dog redeemed, a bond unbreakable. For some heroes, duty never ends. It simply finds a new home. In the end, it wasn't the storm, or the darkness, or even the fear that saved Lily's life. It was a single heartbeat, steady, loyal, unbreakable, that refused to give up on her. Valor didn't wait for orders. He didn't ask for permission. He simply followed the only compass he ever trusted, his instinct to protect the innocent, no matter the cost. And maybe that's the quiet truth we often forget. Heroes don't always arrive in uniforms. Sometimes they limp out of the shadows, covered in mud and scars, carrying hope on their backs. If Valor's courage touched your heart today, please consider liking this video, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, Paw Prints of Valor. Because here, every story honors the animals who remind us that not all angels have wings. Some walk on four paws. Thank you for watching. Wherever you are in the world, stay safe, stay kind, and remember, every paw print has a story.